Hi, this is John with Performance Plus Tennis, and in today's video we're going to break down the pinpoint versus platform stance on the serve and help you decide which one is best for you. And make sure you stick around to the end because we have a free gift for you that's going to help you not only with your serve, but with every shot in the game. Now, the stance on the serve is one of the common controversial topics, pinpoint or platform, because we see professional players use both. And there are coaches that are very strong proponents of a platform stance, and there are coaches obviously that are very much proponents of a pinpoint stance. For me, I really like the platform. We're going to get into all that and more, but we're going to begin by just presenting what the difference is in those two stances. So what is the difference between a pinpoint and a platform stance? Well, a platform stance is where you set your feet up in the beginning to serve, and you complete the entire serve with your feet in this position. Your feet only leave this position as a result of your movement into the ball, and then you move your feet obviously to get ready to return the serve or maintain your balance. So the platform is very steady, very consistent, and doesn't have a whole lot of movement to it. Versus the pinpoint, where you'll see players, they'll start with their foot usually a little bit further back. Sometimes it'll be here, but I think it feels better to have a little further back. They'll place the ball in the air, and then they'll slide the foot up and load both legs together. And for some players, that really produces a better rhythm and a better balance to which to serve from, and it produces more power. So this can be and is often used by high-performance players because it just feels more natural, and that's fine, that's okay. So, but what we want to do is really define what the differences are, and now we're going to get into what the advantages and potential disadvantages are of each. So the advantage of the platform stance is consistency in your position. And for most servers, we have difficulty controlling the location of the ball. And then if we have our body moving because we're doing pinpoint stances and moving our feet around, we tend to not have a consistent position relative to the ball, and obviously that affects our serving performance. So the platform isolates your body and makes a commitment to a position. And now all you have to do is learn how to place the ball into that position so it comes back to your hand. So it really simplifies the serve in many, many ways. And it also just makes it easier to rhythm the serve because you don't have this extra movement that you have to time into the whole serve movement. So I believe that the platform stance is a better choice for a lot of players, particularly when you are learning your foundational skills and developing the technique. What I'm really in favor of is having you really work on your technique of the serve, all of the movements and positions and stages of the serve, and keep that back foot intact and keep the platform stance because that just simplifies the process. Then, once you've really established that, if you naturally begin to slide the foot in to play the pinpoint and everything else is in tune, then the pinpoint can work. So while we're on the topic of the platform stance, let's define it a little bit more clearly. So for most good platform servers, we want our feet about hip width apart. We want to set up our feet so we're naturally perpendicular to our target line. And I'm in favor of getting the back foot behind the front foot. In my case, being a right-handed player, my right foot's behind, and I have my toes lined up so that the toe of my right foot is really lined up with the arch of my left foot. And this puts me in a good position where I can get a good rotation and in a good coil to play the serve from. So this is the ideal position. If your foot goes further back, it can work for some players, but you can overcoil and make it difficult to play the serve. And obviously we don't want the back foot to be sliding out to the outside of the front foot because that's going to not really let you turn and coil the way you'd like to on the serve. So this is your ideal position for the platform. And you might be thinking, is there a disadvantage to using the platform stance? And I don't think so. The only potential disadvantage is something you could discover later on where it's more natural and more comfortable for you to pinpoint. So if this was more natural for you and you've generated a better serve, more consistent, more power, so forth, then maybe the platform stance would be less than ideal. But there really is no disadvantage to using a platform. So what about the pinpoint? Well, the pinpoint, as I mentioned earlier, lends itself to a lot more movement. And sometimes when you're trying to develop your serve and you're doing pinpoint, you end up moving both feet. So we end up with this two-footed movement. There's a lot of sliding around. So what I want you to realize is whether you're pinpoint server or your platform server, this front foot, you want this to set up and be stationary throughout the serve until you're exiting the serve motion to get ready for the return. So that's one of the problems with the pinpoint, a lot of excessive movement. The other issue that happens with pinpoint that I see very, very commonly is that when the player brings the foot up, it slides to the outside. And what happens now is you can see that my right foot has come to the outside and my hips have begun to rotate towards the net, and yet I haven't begun my swing yet. And now there's a disconnect between the position of my shoulders and the position of my hips. So I'm weakening my ability to really create a unit of movement to produce my swing. So the Pinpoint, you have to be very, very careful with it because the foot has to slide up and stay behind the front foot so you maintain this shoulder position in relation to your hips in a nice coil that you can then move on to the ball with. So that's a bit of an issue. The other issue with the Pinpoint is that you have to time the movement of the foot. And what we commonly see in recreational tennis where players are struggling is they're trying to bring the foot up while they're tossing the ball. And that becomes very, very disruptive. So the coordination and the sequence of movements, you have to release the ball first and slide the foot up second. And you have to be able to time that movement properly so that you can then enter into the serve and play the contact in the right place. So it does make the serve more complicated. For some players, they're able to do it. Other players, maybe not. So if you're having trouble with this coordination, this timing, this sequencing, then I say go back to the platform, build your skill from there, and then see what happens. But those are the two common problems that happen with a Pinpoint and the reason why I'm not a proponent of using it, particularly in the development stages of the serve. So it makes sense that the Pinpoint could also require a higher ball toss because you need to have time to place the ball up, slide the foot in, load up, and then make your move on the ball. And I think that's why in most cases, and there are a few exceptions, but in most cases when you look at a high performance player who uses a Pinpoint, the toss generally tends to be higher. And while I'm also a proponent of having a higher ball placement rather than a lower one, if you get too high, then obviously the timing gets more difficult and you're influenced by wind and sun and so things like that. So again, I think if you compare the ball toss height that's ideal for a platform, generally speaking, the ball toss height for a Pinpoint is going to have to be higher. So at this point you might be wondering, well, what should I do and what would be ideal for me? Well, if you've been playing tennis for a long time and you're a Pinpoint server, then I would stick with that. But if your serve gets out of tune or you feel like you want to isolate and work on some technical things, I would go back to the platform to reestablish your mechanics and then go back to your Pinpoint once again. If you're a new player and you're just really trying to figure it out, I would start with the platform again and really establish your foundational skills with a platform stance and see if that's what naturally sticks to you. And then over time, if you feel that that's maybe not comfortable and maybe not natural for you, you could experiment and start bringing the foot in and see if that produces a better result for you. But I wouldn't put the cart before the horse and try to do the Pinpoint before your mechanics are really built. If you enjoyed today's video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. And turn on your notifications because we're releasing new content every week and we don't want you to miss out on our new releases. And be sure to share the video with your friends because we want to help more tennis players improve their tennis games. And finally, for your free gift, click on the link in the description down below to gain access to our library of lessons where we reveal all the principles and foundational skills you need to master to achieve your full potential in tennis. Thanks for watching today's video and we'll see you in the next lesson.